For over 2,000 years, the Great Pyramid of Cholula, being 4 times the volume of the famous Pyramid of Giza, has remained the largest monument in the world. But Cholula isn't the only Aztec pyramid there is. In fact, Aztec is a land of many pyramids. Just when we thought we had seen it all with the Egyptian pyramids, the Aztec pyramids were discovered much later. Both ancient pyramids have a few similarities, but on a large scale they are very different. Just like how the Aztec civilization is nothing like the Egyptian civilization. The Egyptians were pretty much known for idolizing their gods. Wait until we tell you about the Aztecs' relentless devotion to their gods before it gets gory. We'd like to mention that the Aztec people were actually pretty impressive when it came to intellect. This isn't far-fetched, especially considering how everyone, regardless of their social class, had a right to free education. Their impressive minds were evidenced by, first and foremost, their agricultural method. So, they were on an island, practically surrounded by water, but they needed to grow crops to survive. You wouldn't believe what they did. They actually created a floating garden called chinampas. How smart were these people, really? That's not all. These guys were also rubber-making pros. And while exploring rubber balls, they had many rubber inventions, from footwear to raincoats. Probably not as refined as we have it now, but still impressive. Also, if you're a huge fan of chocolate, then you actually need to say a really big thank you to the Aztec civilization because they played a huge role in the invention of chocolate. Well, they highly referenced cocos because they thought it to be a gift from the gods. Cocoa beans were pure gold in those days because they were a means of exchange. You could go to the market with them. But they went a step further to create hot chocolate drinks. The only thing is, they didn't have sugar, but they had spices and pepper. So their chocolate drinks were bitter and peppery. Sure, you're grossed out, wondering why anyone will drink that. Well, they didn't seem to have a problem with it because it was even a major part of any good party's menu. All these effortless but witty inventions from the Aztec civilization make the astonishingly complex system of interlocking stones of the pyramids sound plausible. They built the pyramids so well that these structures withstood the test of time, from harsh weather conditions to natural disasters. Which begs the question, if they really spent decades or centuries building these structures, why did they reduce them to buttering grounds? To answer that, we'll rewind for a bit. So, first off, Aztecs were polytheists, and according to Aztec history, the world has been created and destroyed many times by the gods. This is why they worked extra hard to make the gods happy, even if it cost them the lives of their fellow humans. Now, this is where it gets gory. The ancient Aztec civilization, as smart as they were, managed to believe that they needed to render human sacrifices to their gods for the sun to rise every day. Basically, 365 people would need to be sacrificed yearly at the very least. That's not the best, but it's way better than what actually happened. Apparently, 365 hearts weren't enough for their gods. They wanted more. So it seems like they set up strange laws that would allow more sacrifices to be made yearly. The legal punishments for criminal offenses were gruesomely creative. For example, a person who commits treason has to be sacrificed to appease the gods. If caught in the act of sacrilege, which is neglecting spiritual duties, then they had to be sacrificed to restore divine favor. Anyone caught committing violent crimes like murder, rape, and the like, they had to be sacrificed to help the balance. An eye for an eye. You might find it surprising, but even adultery was a big deal then. If a person committed adultery, especially nobles, they had to be sacrificed to restore honor and to sort of purify the land. Oh, and if you get too drunk, you'll be sacrificed too. These guys were sacrificing tens of thousands of people yearly to their gods. At least 400 graves have been found in Aztec. They looked for every and any reason to spill blood for the gods. It was a literal bloodbath, but they thought it a necessary evil. All this chaos was to keep chaos at bay. They worked so hard to keep the balance, but unfortunately, in the end, they saved the world but lost themselves. But it depends on how you see it. What if they realized that all the sacrifices weren't enough and then eventually agreed to sacrifice themselves to save the planet? Regardless, it's a bit unfair that they served these gods so devoutly, and not even one of them could save them when trouble came. Let's talk about the Spanish evolution that knocked the Aztec civilization off the globe, shall we? Hearing about how intelligent these guys were, they were educated, advanced, and even strategic. Every man in Aztec from when he was only a boy is trained for war. So how was it even possible for the mighty Aztecs to fall? Well, first off, the Spanish weren't just some random dudes rolling in. They had some serious firepower. Guns, cannons, and steel swords. Stuff the Aztecs just couldn't match with their wooden clubs and stone weapons. It was like bringing a knife to a gunfight, but way worse. Then there was the sickness issue. Apparently the Spanish brought diseases like smallpox that the Aztecs had never encountered before. It hit them hard because they had zero immunity. So the virus actually wiped out a big chunk of their crew before the real battle even started. Plus, the Spanish didn't roll solo. They buddied up with some indigenous groups that had bones to pick with the Aztec. Yup, the Aztecs weren't exactly very peaceful themselves. They had some neighboring rivals that they had fought and defeated. And what do you think they did with their defeated enemies? You guessed right. They sacrificed them to their gods. Their devout spirituality kinda caught up with them eventually, so their rivals never forgave them for sacrificing their people to their gods at the top of their pyramids. But they knew they couldn't fight them alone. The Spanish army forged an alliance with common enemies, and boom, it got really dirty. These alliances gave the Spanish extra muscle and inside info on Aztec weaknesses. And let's not forget the Aztecs were already dealing with some drama internally. They had rebellions and unrest brewing in their own backyard, which made it even trickier to fend off the Spanish invasion. To top it all off, the Aztec leaders kinda dropped the ball strategically. They underestimated the Spanish and didn't see the full extent of their threat until it was too late. It's like they were playing local chess while the Spanish were playing 4D chess with a 4K drone camera lens. They had them all figured out. So yeah, it wasn't just one thing that threw the Aztecs in. It was a combo of bad luck, bad timing, and some serious tactical moves by the Spanish that spelled the end for the Aztec Empire. Tough break, for sure. Just before we wrap up, there's this huge conspiracy about the Aztec civilization that you have probably never heard of. Some people believe that the Aztec civilization didn't build those pyramids because of the technological advancement it had. Crazy, right? But they might have a strong point. Think about it. Why would anyone so technologically advanced be devout to barbaric religious practices? They were learned enough to know better than to believe that they needed to sacrifice human hearts for the sun to rise every morning. But then think about it again. Those ancient Mexican pyramids, they weren't just thrown together haphazardly. Nah, every little detail was thought out meticulously, down to the acoustics. You clap your hands or shout, and suddenly you're hit with this crazy echo. It's like the pyramid itself is amplifying the sound. You can stand as far as 150 feet away from a person and talk with your normal voice, and they'll hear you crystal clear. That's not by accident. The Aztecs knew exactly how to design these bad boys to manipulate sound waves and create mind-blowing acoustics for their religious ceremonies. And to back it up, there's the 31st of March Serpent. This is some next-level stuff. Imagine the sun hitting the pyramids just right on the 31st of March, casting shadows that make it look like a serpent slithering down the stairs. The natural light show was deliberately designed by these ancient architects who were also secret astronomers. The fact that it's not just about practicality, it's about weaving together the physical world with the spiritual and cosmic realms. These alignments weren't just for show. They were part of the Aztec belief system, connecting their earthly lives with the rhythms of the universe. There's a lot of distinct evidence of their super advanced culture, so it's almost impossible to believe they didn't build these pyramids. But what do you think? Do you think that these pyramids were built by the Aztec civilization? Let us know in the comments section. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to MHistory for more interesting history insights. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.